Hear me?
Sure, Sandra, we can hear you.
Okay, because I couldn't hear you at all.
Oh, really? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Well, this is kind of a funny telephone.
This works good. It's working good. Fire away.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Use this phone?
I'd like to start probably right at the beginning. And how did you first hear about this campaign? I assume were you called into Mr. Coriel's office, or how did that all happen?
Well, I was in the student council at South in 43, 42, 43, and two students in the junior high. I was in the senior high council, student council, and two students thought up this idea of buying bombs, buying airplanes in the junior student council, and so their idea, we picked up their idea, and we bought, started buying. We picked it up. It was their idea to sell stamps and bonds, and so we picked up the idea and ended up with buying $75,000, and we put the Spirit of South High on a fighter plane, which cost $75,000, and so it became a joint student high project between the senior student high council that I was on and the junior student council that the two fellows.
Did you actually buy that the smaller bomber first?
Yeah, yes, we bought that first, and we got the 75,000 sold, so that we decided to do something bigger, and the next biggest thing we could think of was a bomber, so that we went from a fighter plane to a bomber, and started on that project, and we sold it. I was the student chairman of the project then, and we were working together with the junior high and senior high, and you know, my memory isn't all that sharp about what happened, but anyway, we adopted the project. Henry Mulder was our, you remember him, Mulder?
Oh yes, yeah. I had him also.
And he was our faculty advisor, and we went ahead with this fellow, it was coordination with the idea of the student, or the Kent County War Bond chairman was glad to have us tackling the project. So we sold 75,000 worth of stamps and bonds, and then we decided to go go after the 375,000. Actually, the bomber cost 345, but we raised 375 in January and no.
Excuse me, Dave. I don't know if you're turning your head or what, but
I'm sorry.
you're going in or out. Sometimes you're really nice and loud, and other times I can barely hear you.
Well, I'm turning.
You worked with the Kent County War Bond.
Well, he was the chairman, and he worked with us. His name is here on the materials, and so
Is your phone better?
we did pretty well getting 75,000 together. So we tackled a bigger project.
Okay, hang on.
So
Hey, Sandy.
The C-17 then was 300,000?
345,000.
I'm sorry?
345,000.
It was 345,000.
But-
Okay, so
and we-
you had to raise more than an extra 300,000 after the 75.
You know, my memory is a little fuzzy, but I believe that probably that 75 was included in the 375 that we got. In other words,
Do you know what kind of fighter plane that was?
well, there's a picture of it here on this materials.
Yeah, I have that photograph. I didn't know if you had.
I can't remember the name of the photo, of what it was, but probably Art, if he's still living, Arthur could probably remember himself.
He's still living, all right.
Well, he'll remember. Anyway, we raised. We had a big assembly there, as you know, in the high school
Okay, so
assembly.
you started off with an assembly to tell the kids, and then did you have one to tell have the parents included too?
Don't remember. I don't remember. But anyway, we had a assembly, and I spoke to them amongst others, since I was the chairman of the thing. And got them all fired up, and we went out and sold bonds. And I believe it was probably in January and February, and so we got the money all together. We sold enough bonds that the entire high school, and junior high and senior high, went out selling bonds and nailed everybody in the south end and the merchants and so forth. And I remember my dad.
What did you actually hand them? Did you have?
We didn't pick up the money. We had a form where they subscribed to it, as I remember, and they didn't.
Had a form.
The students didn't actually collect the money. They just sold this. You signed this form, and we agreed to buy it. And everything was 75%. Every bond, for example, a $1,000 bond cost $750,000 $750 for a $1,000 bond, or $18.75 for a $25 bond is the way the government worked in those days. And
Okay, so the students of South High were all given forms to take home?
yes,
To then,
right. It went door to door and merchant to merchant, and had them sign up to buy a bond, and then I think the money was all handled through downtown. But so they didn't have to. We didn't have to pick up the money ourselves.
okay, so if somebody came to me, they would hand me a slip of paper, and I would say that I was going to buy a $1,000 bond, and I would sign
And
South
then
High that when I went to the bank to buy this bond, I would tell them that I was a part of the South High campaign. Is that how it worked?
well, you know, being age 88, my memory isn't too swift as to the paperwork, but
Okay.
anyway, they were committed to buy the bond once they signed this paper that all the students took door to door for
Okay.
whatever price. You know, they tried to sell the bond for as much as they could, but I'd take them. I remember, as I say, my father bought a $1,000 bond, and
Maybe I'm losing you again.
I remember, I forget how many I sold myself, but anyway, we in a couple of months there, we, instead of hitting 75,000, we hit 375,000. Students, everybody was selling, and probably had the teachers selling too, but I don't remember. I'm sure they were, and it was.
How often did you get a report? The kids brought the commitment papers back to school and handed those in, and somebody collected them?
Yes.
Okay, well that makes more sense, because I kept thinking, all that money filters through the school? That's extraordinary.
No way we didn't want to handle all that money.
Yeah, now, but what about the war stamps and the stamp books? Those were sold to the school, right?
That's right, and I forget, I wish I could remember better, but Sandra, I don't remember, but we started out with stamps and then went into bonds, and And whether we actually handed the stamp itself to them, I don't recall.
Okay. Do you recall if kids were given the empty stamp books, and then when they bought stamps, they put them in themselves?
That sounds like it.
Okay. Your committee must have been getting pretty excited as the money rolled in.
Right. Well, the war was not won at all at that time. It was pretty intense. Everybody was involved in the war, and effort did something for it, and so we wanted to do something that we could do, and this was a great idea, I thought, to handle, and so we had no objection whatsoever in the high school. We must have had, you've been there, we must have had when you include the junior high and the senior high, there must have been 2,000 students. That's a guess. Do you remember when you were there, how many thousand there were?
I think there was around 800 students.
800.
Well, wait.
Maybe not that many.
No.
I have the number somewhere.
Well, there was 200 in a graduating class
200?
in a senior class.
In our class,
Yeah.
had
About 200.
250 or something.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so you got four classes, so that would be 1,000 plus.
I can't hear what anybody's saying.
Well, it'd be 1,000 for the high school, and then another 500 for the junior high. So it'd be 1,500 probably.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds
Yeah.
like it.
Who did that? Do you remember who did that poster? I'm assuming some kids at school did the poster of the fighter plane, and then added the B-17 to it.
No, I don't.
Any recollection of who painted that poster? Your art class, maybe?
Yeah, it was probably somebody in our class, but I can't recall.
Okay. Do any large donations stand out where somebody bought, I don't know, a $10,000 bond and everyone went, wow? Did you see that?
Yeah, no, I don't have any memory of that. I don't think we didn't get any really biggies in there.
Okay.
But when you've got 1,500 kids or so selling, it adds up, of course.
Now, in the Betty DiStefano Tabor put together a 50th anniversary Tatler for her class
Oh, good.
in the early 2000s, and in there she mentioned that the money kept rolling in, so they bought 2 disaster vehicles and 63 fully equipped landing barges. She indicated with leftover money. Do you have any recollection of that?
Well, this was a project, that we did in April, January, February of 43, and then the following year I was the chairman of the thing, and I was elected president of the student council too. So we raised, I don't know what, $500,000 or $600,000 in bonds, and we bought I think it was 63 landing barges that were made over in Saginaw somewhere, and so we had a big ceremony. I've got the poster on that here too. That is a big project, and they brought.
That was 1944?
44, and so in April of 44, it wasn't nearly as big as April of 43 of having the bomber, but they drove the barges over here from Saginaw or wherever they made them, and we had, I remember something like 16 barges around Garfield Park, and the ceremony was the barges were around the park, and then we marched. The band got together and everybody at South High, and we marched down to the Garfield Park and had a big procedure there. I mean, program there where the governor and the mayor and so forth talked. And I sat up there with I was in the band, so I had my trombone, and we've got a big poster on that here too.
So they did that for
To buy
the landing barges also?
Yeah, to buy the landing barges, right.
Wow.
So anyway, that was what we did in 44, but in 43 that we bought the bomber, and then 43 we bought all these landing barges.
I read in a Tatler that Al Gamble sent me from 1945 that they were initiating the 7th campaign, and I know that after you bought the bomber, late February, the 2nd campaign was initiated. So you have any knowledge of, besides the barges and the disaster vehicles, what the other things were that the school bought?
No, I was off to college.
Yeah, I figured that.
I was down in Michigan trying to learn something.
Did you?
What they forgot to teach me at Sally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I went to Michigan State, so I had to ask the question.
the school was awarded certificates, and I know you all received lapel pins. Do you have copies, or do you know who has copies of those certificates? From the Treasury Department saying that South had contributed so much money to buy the bomber, and in addition, all the other things they raised money for. Do you know if those
Well,
certificates exist somewhere?
I imagine they were just posted in probably in Coriel's office. I don't remember.
Okay, so you don't know where they might be.
I don't know where they might be, and of course, when the South closed up in '67, why? What happened to all that memorabilia? I'm not sure, but maybe some of it ended up with a museum. I don't know.
Do you have the pin you were given, the lapel pin?
I've got a bunch of pins in my drawer here. I would have saved it. Yeah, I suppose I do, but I haven't looked at those. Haven't looked at all those pins in a long time.
Well, if you figure out which one it was, let Leonard know. Maybe next time he's in town, he can take a picture of it.
All right. Well, before he goes, I'll take a look. Before he leaves, I'll take a look right now.
Do you remember what your parents thought about all this when you came home and said, we're going to buy a bomber?
Well, they were delighted. They backed me up all the time, and as I say, I sold Dad a $1,000 bond, so he got out his checkbook too.
So then did he take some of the flyers or whatever it was you were giving out, did he take them to his work and pass them around there too?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
I was off to Ann Arbor, and in June I went down there for age 17 to get into college, and before going in the service, so I took off and kind of left all this behind me. We also started Club Coed. Do you remember that?
Club Coed? No.
That was a nightclub, a citywide nightclub called Club Coed. I was the chairman of that one too. We painted up. It was on the second floor of the Lear Building downtown on Division.
Oh, wow.
We had 10,000 square feet down there, and nightclub, so we get together from all the kids in in the city could get together and have a place to meet. So
For
that,
the high school kids?
yep, Club Co-ed.
Wow.
And the Lear came back and wanted to start building other things there, so they moved the Club Co-ed up on the hill into a junior college building after I'd gone to college. But anyway, we painted, and we had a dance floor and pool tables and ping pong and all that. And then you didn't get invited down to Club Co-ed?
Never
I
heard.
don't recall that.
I never heard of it.
In the 1960s.
Well, that was probably gone. That's right, it'd be gone by the 60s.
Yeah.
This was just in the 40s when nobody had cars and had a place to get together was important.
We were born in the 40s, okay?
Now, do you remember they had Bomber Queen, Levon Kronberg.
Levon.
Do you remember how the queens were chosen? Did each class choose a queen? Because I think you had one from every class represented.
Well, she had her court, they called it the court, her court. And how did we pick Levon? Let's see.
Prettiest girl in class.
Well, I used to, when I came back from law school, why, she and I used to ride the bus downtown to our jobs.
Wow.
But I don't remember exactly how she got picked, but anyway, we had a bomber queen, and then we had a barge queen the next year. Mary Ellen Johnson was that one, and she in our senior year, Mary Ellen Johnson. And we have a big photograph here of her banging the champagne bottle on the side of a landing barge and water splattering all over. I remember the good old days at South High.
I wonder if anybody has an accurate or a list of all the things that South bought with that money, or was it just the two? I don't mean just meaning. I mean it's awesome and amazing that they could buy a fighter bomber and the B-17 and two disaster vehicles and 63 landing barges. Do you know if there were other things that they purchased?
No, I that's all I remember is we did those. And as I say, the 75,000 probably just got added to it to get up to the 375.
So you're thinking then that there wasn't a Spirit of South High in a smaller bomber?
Oh yeah, there was the Spirit of South High was on the fighter plane that we bought first. That was 75,000. The Spirit of South High on that one too. Was painted on that, but whether an actual plane got that painted on it or not, I doubt. I don't. It might have happened, but I don't remember.
Okay. One of the pictures that they found for me at the Grand Rapids Public Library was the Queen and her court in front of a small fighter plane. So that would that have been the plane that they purchased, perhaps?
Right. That's what was drawn up at South High, and then they. Well, that was just part of the promotion to get people out to sell these stamps and bonds. There was a drawing. Who prepared that drawing? I don't know, but I have that picture here on this stuff. You've got the same picture.
Well, I've got. I purchased a bunch of photographs from the Grand Rapids Public Library, and one is the Queen and her court at the airport. Standing in front of, and then there's one picture where there are the Queen and one of her court are standing on one of the wings of a small fighter plane.
Oh,
And that would have been the fighter plane they purchased first?
right. You bet. That photograph I didn't. When I tried to put this together as co-chairman of the class of '44. Well, I didn't see that photograph. That's interesting.
This is class ring.
Okay.
They show people standing on the wings of a fighter plane, huh?
Yeah, on a small fighter plane. They'll all be in the book, and I'll have them at the presentation that I'm going to give.
Well, that'll be great. Great.
One of the things I'm a little bit confused about, only because I found out that the government kept changing the price on the bombers, and as the bombers got cheaper and cheaper to make because they were making them so fast, the government raised the price on what they were asking people to fund. So one of the costs I was given was $241,000. And so I thought, if in fact South bought the small fighter bomber, and then they sold $300,000 more, then that would make sense that they had money to buy both, and that there was money left over to buy additional things. But you're telling me there was a second campaign there was another campaign the next year when they bought the barges and the
Yeah, I was
master vehicle.
the chairman of that, right?
Oh, okay. Now, what kind of memorabilia things do you have there? You have some newspaper articles and
Well, I put it all together on a big board that's about 3 feet by 4 feet here, and on both of these things. And the reason I did this 30 years after the fact was my wife and I were co-chairman of the class of '44 reunion, so we had to have something to refresh everybody's memory of what we'd done back when we were in high school. So I put together these 2 posters, and I kept them here on behind the piano all these years until what's her name, Rowan, got me interested in dragging them out.
well, I'm assuming that Leonard's getting a good photograph and good video of that poster.
Well, these 2 posters, they're talking about putting it. They're going to come out here in a couple of days and talk about putting these posters. Try to talk me into have them for the, I guess either the art museum or the general museum. And I think maybe I'll hang on to them for a year or 2. But being age 88, why I got to give them to somebody.
Well, the Job Corps Center is setting aside a room so there can be a South High School museum. But
I didn't know that. I didn't know
yes,
that.
and here's a very interesting side to that. The committee, or the people in charge, so to speak, for South are concerned that the room isn't big enough. Number one, there's too much memorabilia, and 2, they're concerned about the safety of the things being at the Job Corps Center. So,
Right.
and now this is just kind of a pipe dream in the sky, so don't quote me on this, but I was told that the committee's been meeting with the folks at the Presidential Museum and talking about the possibility of a room there dedicated to South High School memorabilia. Now,
Well, that would be.
wouldn't that be unbelievably cool if
Yeah.
South High School's museum was in Gerald R. Ford's museum?
You bet, because Jerry Ford went to South, as you know.
We've already got the drums, so.
Oh, really? Who's got the drum?
The high
museum.
school, the big drum is hanging in the Gerald R. Ford Museum.
I'll be darned.
And I don't think Gerald was a part of the band. Now,
I don't think
may
he
have
was.
been in music, but I don't think so, because
No.
he was the captain of the football team.
Yes.
He was an athlete.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
he was quite a guy.
So anyways,
He called
we're
me.
all a part of an amazing school that
he called me up one day when he was running for his second term, and I was sitting there in my office, and the secretary says, "The president's on the phone." What? Jerry Ford. He and I were on a first name basis because he'd come out and talk to us a lot in the JCs. He asked me to help him collect votes for him running against Reagan for that nomination by the Republicans, and he said, if I don't win Michigan, I may not get appointed. And he said, would you be willing to get 10 people ready to go out and vote for me instead of Reagan, and get 10 more, each of those 10 to get another 10. Mr. President, I said I'd be happy to do that, and I got 40 people agreed to go out and not only agree to vote, but agree to get another 10 to vote. And so anyway, he won the Michigan primary by quite a bit over Reagan, and that would be in the fall of '76. So that was one of the big high points of my life, was to have the presidents on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And he always called
Hey.
me Dave, and I always called him Jerry, except on this occasion they called him Mr. President, of course.
Yeah. Since I'm not there, would you be willing to go through each of the photographs on your poster board, and since Leonard is videotaping this, just go through everything and tell him, just talk about each of the items that you have on your poster board?
Sure.
Would you do that? I don't know if I'll be able to hear you while you do it, but I know that Leonard's videotaping it, so I'll be able to see and hear what you're talking about. But that would be really valuable to have you go and point at each item or each picture and talk about it.
All right.
Would you do that right now?
You bet.
Are you done with the questions?
I think so.
All right, so we can just hang up then if you want, and I'll get this stuff unless you have more.
Okay.
Do you want to keep
No,
that
I
recorded
think,
on, I mean, the
Let me look at the
sequence?
questions here. I was going to ask him if he remembers any of the people on the committee that were a particularly big help. I know I have Grace Moyer, Mary Toromino,
He wants to know
Sam Jenkins, Chester Ward, James Sino, Lois Knight.
Well, they were the Queen's Court, weren't they?
Some of them were.
Yeah. I can't remember who was a big help, but Grace Moyer and I were co-chairman of this thing, and we sold worse stamps and any bonds, but these forms were all we sold in the high school too, and sitting out in the hall, of course.
So you would sit out in the hall at the table, and the kids would bring the money in, and you'd give
Well,
them stamps?
Well, I think on I can't remember that we handled money. We may have just had them sign up for, but there must have been, when we sold stamps, there must have been some way to handle that money. I don't recall that.
Okay. So, David, I hope you get to meet the open house. We'll make sure you get an invitation to the open house.
That'd be good. I'll be.
Saturday
Can we get
after
on this?
Labor
She can
Day,
hear
is
you.
September 12th.
As he
And
talks on the internet.
Leonard would know more of the timing of it, but I think it's somewhere around noon, 11 o'clock or something like that. But when we get closer to the time, I'll make sure that you get an invitation.
And I can bring these poster boards then if you would like.
That would be wonderful. And thank you so much. I'm going to hang up now and let Leonard finish so that Doug can get to his appointment. But I really appreciate your taking the time to speak to us and to allow Leonard into your home there. And Leonard, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Talking to you later.
Thank you, and it's nice to have you working on this project after all these years.
Well, it's my pleasure. Believe me, I am thrilled to be doing it, and as each puzzle piece falls into place, it gets more and more exciting.
Oh, well, that's great, and I'll look forward to having a copy of your book when it gets published, too.
Okay. So
Well-
thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you, honey.
Bye-bye, and thank
What?
you, Doug, also. I'm assuming he's there, too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sandra.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead.
Well, this is the fighter plane that we bought first for $75,000.
Okay.
And then this is us, my co-chairman and I, selling bonds and stamps mainly to kids in high school.
Okay.
And this shows the same fighter plane paid for.
Yeah.
As soon as we got the 75,000, why, this is the big day out at the airport.
Yeah.
And here the bomber and all the dignitaries, including the governor and the mayor and so forth.
Yeah.
And this is the our Henry Mulder was our
Oh,
advisor.
hang on a second. There, hang on a second. Getting too much reflection. Okay, here we go.
This is the captain that flew the plane up. This is the bomber queen, LaVon Kronberg. This is Henry Mulder, who was our advisor, student. I forget what he taught, but anyway, he was a student council advisor. And this is Harry Brown, the Kent County chairman of Bond Effort.
Okay.
And this is this senior student council.
Yeah.
And that's me, the president, and so forth. Yeah. And this is the bomber itself and all the dignitaries at the christening of the bomber.
Okay.
And this is standing by the bomber, the fellow that flew it up, and the Harry Brown, the chairman of the county bond drive.
Okay.
And, well, you don't want to get all those things.
But this is basically all the ceremonies of the big bomber, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. I will take pictures of those. Okay.
And then this next thing is the following year. You want that too?
Yeah, sure. All right. Oops. I'll hold it.
All right.
Where are we going to start? Let's up on top. There we go.
That's the ladies that were the court, the honor court for the queen of that, and she's the queen here. Mary Ellen Johnson is the queen of the landing barge,
Yeah.
the barge queen, and she's pounding the
The bottle of wine.
bottle of wine
Or whatever.
champagne. And this is all the dignitaries of this procedure. This is me here with the trombone. I was also in the band.
Oh, wow.
And I forget who's speaking, but I think it's the governor and the mayor and so forth are all here. And this is the student council that year. And Grace Chairman is the secretary, and I'm the president. And this is our senior student council.
Yeah.
And
Can you see it?
what the dickens?
Oops.
Well, this is Grace Moyer, a better shot of her. And they're standing around after the procedure, and I don't know who they are.
And then this one is that one again, huh?
And
Yeah.
that's Mary Ellen Johnson, the queen of the barge, crashing the.
Well, who's
bottle
it?
of
You know who that guy
champagne.
is? You remember who that is? Or
I don't know who he is.
Okay.